Scoob came out in 2020, ran 1 hour and 34 minutes, starting in Venice Beach, California, and by the movie playing California Love, feels very intentional to set this apart from the traditional, like the Scooby-Doo from Coolsville and other less real-world things about the cartoon world. Perhaps I give it too much credit of thinking that they intended for this to be known as the real world, because how quickly it goes from feeling untraditional to very traditional when Scooby-Doo acts like you would expect him to, and it just doesn't take very long for him to get into that classic form. Scooby smells meat and then takes a comically large sized amount for himself. Seems like it could have taken place in any Scooby-Doo story. After this, we meet a young Shaggy, voiced by the same actor who played young Sheldon, so showing that he has range. I like that the kid tries to listen to music and everything reminds him of how he's lonely. Because he is. So he listens to a podcast instead, only the podcast about making friends, which is entertaining. Scooby at this point is unnamed and is hiding from the cop who saw him steal the meat. And he overhears Shaggy talking to himself, well, his quote-unquote friends, that he made out of sand. And this talk that Shaggy is attempting to have lunch with Shelly and Sandy, the kind of snowmen-looking things, but they're sand. It's made the dog, Scooby, realize that, this could be a friend. And when Shaggy notices that he doesn't have any protein on his sandwich, the pup offers to share. This allows the cop who had been looking for the not yet named dog to question Shaggy, who lies to protect his new pal. When the police officer asks what the name of the dog is, and Shaggy, being a kid and not good at this, he looks at a thing of snacks and says that the dog's name is Snacks because the box of Scooby Snacks says it. But then he quickly corrects himself and says that his dog's name is Scooby Dooby Doo. And the cop says any dog with a middle name can't be a stray, although theft is what the dog was being accused of, not being a stray. So I can't really understand how that the cop let this go, but it's a story about a talking dog, so you gotta have some leeway. Big fan of young Shaggy and the pup Scoob stuff. I think it might have been more interesting if the whole film had been done with the cast staying young. But after Shaggy and Scooby meet Fred, Daphne, and Velma on a Halloween night and they solve a Halloween mystery, we get a non-specified time jump, but by appearance, I'd say maybe 10 years has passed. It was fun. The gang was brought together by Candy and getting taken, or by Shaggy's candy getting taken and them coming together to get it back, and then solving a mystery of a ghost in a house. One great line is, "We found the world's smallest Walmart," because the so-called ghost was just a cover so that nobody would come in his house and figure out that the person was a thief. For the time jump process, they do a modernized redo of that traditional Scooby-Doo where the cartoon opens, and after the montage and the Scooby gang look basically the age that we're used to them being, Velma, Fred, and Daphne want to grow Mystery Inc., whereas Shaggy and Scooby are just happy for things to stay the same. For some reason that I can't understand, other than the fact that the cartoon liked celebrity cameos, Simon Cowell is who Fred, Daphne, and Velma went to for advice in expanding the notoriety of Mystery Inc. The idea of Simon Cowell being a potential investor, I guess, is how they justify it. Although I don't think of him as being an investor. I think of him being as a singer-critic guy. Perhaps they're only using Simon because he is known for being mean. Simon Cowell believes the gang should cut Shaggy and Scooby. He's such an a-hole. saying friendship will not help grow Mystery Inc. This leads to Shaggy and Scooby getting their feelings hurt and leaving. To feel better, the boys go bowling, which is cool. And because of them going bowling, we get a very fun interaction where the bowling pins and even the ball return start messing with Shaggy and Scooby. Multiple bowling balls transform into some little robot-looking things. They're kind of similar to the robot like chomper muncher things that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had to fight off in the early days of their comic, and maybe they're called Mousers. I can't remember now. I'll look it up. But they're just much fancier versions of what the TMNT boys had to fight off in the early comics and even some of the cartoons. The robots want the key, and yet Shaggy and Scooby don't have any keys, and this leads to them fleeing all the chaos. Thankfully, the guys get away to safety, only for them to get abducted very quickly thereafter. When Shaggy and Scooby realize where they are, they get excited because young Shaggy introduced Pup Scooby to Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt. Although quickly they realize this Blue Falcon isn't the hero Shaggy looked up to. This is his son Brian, voiced by Mark Wahlberg. Dino Mutt is Ken Jeong, the guy from The Hangover and Community and all those things. This legacy hero is in pursuit of Dick Dastardly, the man behind the robot attack. Brian, the new Blue Falcon, is so cheesy. He has a fake phone call with Adventure to convince Shaggy and Scooby to come on this trip because Adventure is calling them. I just realized Fred is voiced by Zac Efron, and that dude has really grown to be very reliable, but also very fun. Fred, Velma, and Daphne are on a mission to find their friends that they hurt by listening, or maybe more accurately, humoring Simon Cowell. Velma going over the forensics of the bowling alley in the Mystery Machine of a lock of hair from the scene, and the friends, the scene of this friends napping instead of kidnapping. It's ludicrous, but, it's fun, so, I guess that's what's important. And while she's going over it, somehow Netflix gets brought up, and Fred doesn't know that Netflix isn't free. I don't know. It shows off the characters and how they interact. After this, we go to Dick Dastardly's hideout. He is yelling at his little transforming robot crew, and while I've never seen Despicable Me, I imagine that this is what Gru and his minions are like. I think I believe this because Minions, for a time, saturated pop culture just thoroughly. Also, these little robots, underlings, have that very basic and simple to understand, barely communicating personality type, like the Minions, from pop culture, that is. Back with Shaggy and Scooby on the Blue Falcon ship, and they've made themselves at home cleaning out the refrigerator. Like I said in the beginning, some things feel as if they are attempting to break new ground or set this apart, and then bam, cleaning out the fridge spot comes and it feels so comfortable, playing into the classics. While making snacks, the guys also made Blue Falcon their favorite ice cream with jalapeno on top. Both Shaggy and Scooby are just good characters, and I enjoy them both in this. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, Enjoy. While watching, part of me wonders if Fred, Daphne, and Velma will get to Dick Dastardly before the superhero team, since Dynamutt isn't certain about Brian, this new Blue Falcon's readiness for being the hero that he is portraying. There's a good shot Dynamutt was correct because Brian, the Blue Falcon, fell for a trap that Dastardly attempted, or that set up, that attempts to get the dog napping once again of Scooby, because he is the key that will allow Dick Dastardly to get his dog Muttley back from the underworld. The plot of the whole thing is going wild. Alexander the Great, the afterlife, has a pile of his gold, all kinds of just odd things, all kinds of that over the top superhero, supervillain, so much craziness is happening. While Dastardly attempts to take Scooby, he knocks Shaggy far away, and Shaggy finds Brian hiding. He pretends he isn't hiding, and that this is just a good vantage point to plan his attack. But Shaggy knows scared when he sees scared. Shaggy attempts to hype up Brian and tells him that he needs to drop an F-bomb, as in Falcon Bomb. But Brian, who is both scared and not very intelligent, says, "Let's keep it PG," when Shaggy explains to the scaredy cat that this utility belt that he is wearing has all kinds of helpful things, such as the Falcon Bomb. Velma asks Fred how he can know so much about superheroes and so little about the metric system. Fred's reply is money. I'm an American male. Dastardly captures the trio of Mystery Inc., and in captivity, all three of them realize they haven't eaten. This then sparks them to understand Simon Cowell didn't know what he was talking about, and that Shaggy and Scooby are valuable to the team. Daphne shows off that she is emotionally intelligent when she helps one of the robot things that has been abused by Dastardly. And the team, realizing that they haven't eaten, wasn't all that Shaggy and Scooby bring. It's just an illustration of how much they care and look out for the rest of the crew. And I also think that was very well illustrated when Shaggy and Scooby looked out for Brian when they first got taken to the Blue Falcon's ship and got him ice cream because they appreciate him. And, being appreciated goes a long way. The team also misses how lucky the duo of Shaggy and Scooby are, or they seem to be at least. Dick Dastardly explains the Alexander the Great / Muttley getting stuff stuck, and it's so over the top. But this is a kid's movie, so I let it slide. I'm very unclear on whether Dastardly is more interested in getting his dog back or getting the treasure. Blue Falcon and crew find a prehistoric dinosaur island. Unfortunately, Shaggy is jealous of Scooby's key component role in this, and literal key, if you will, when it comes to Dick Dastardly and getting Muttley back. And he's also jealous because Falcon and crew are treating his best pal like that he isn't Shaggy's best friend, but rather theirs. I think Shaggy is more upset that he is feeling like he isn't wanted or needed by anyone, even his best friend Scooby. I really dislike when Shaggy yells at Scooby, "Simon Cowell was right. You can't count on friendship." Sad times for our heroes. Captain Caveman is here with Dino Mutt, Blue Falcon, and now Captain Caveman. I'm kind of surprised that this movie is even called Scoob and not something less specific and more broadly Hanna-Barbera-like. It turns out the Dino Island is actually Mysterious Island. We then flash back to the day Shaggy gave Scooby his collar, and Shaggy realizes that he shouldn't be as upset with his pal as he is. And it's real touching stuff. Well done. I put in quotation marks, Fred shows up to Mysterious Island, but they have to be pulling like a Mission Impossible Winter Soldier face mask pretend identity gimmick, because they did it earlier on when Fred fell for Dick Dastardly pretending to be a lady. It's funny, that then brings to mind which came first, the original Mission Impossible or Scooby Doo. I almost think Scooby Doo probably came out first. I don't know, I have to look it up. Actually, you can look it up and tell me in the comments which came first, Mission Impossible. Not the Tom Cruise version, but the TV show, or Scooby Doo. I've never seen the original TV show, but I don't know. I just feel like I would struggle to think they had that face mask voice changer like the movies do. Captain Caveman versus Blue Falcon is a very Roman Coliseum in a very Roman Coliseum type location. Gets interrupted when quote unquote Fred and Shaggy drive the Mystery Machine into the fight, and it is revealed that so-called Fred was actually Dick Dastardly the whole time, which I saw coming a mile away. But again, kids movie, so I should just not hold it to some high unattainable standard. And realistically, I also say with wrestling a lot, just because something is predictable doesn't mean it is wrong. If the story fits and it makes sense, then that's a good thing. But like I said, I saw this Dick Dastardly thing coming the whole time. Once Dastardly gets Scooby, he tosses Velma, Fred, and Daphne at Shaggy like they are all trash. Blue Falcon, voiced by Mark Wahlberg, and Fred, voiced by Zac Efron, finally share the screen, and I'm a big fan of their interactions. They fight over who's at fault, but kind of everyone's a little at fault. When Dastardly opens this portal to the underworld, a big green dog with 3 heads appears, and this really highlights the beauty of the animation and how well executed the movie visuals are. The abused robot Daphne was kind to earlier helps save the heroes, which nicely ties things together narratively. When Daphne tries to distract the big green dog with 3 heads with a Scooby snack, Scooby eats it, and she says that she's always ready with a backup, and then he eats the backup and he cries out, "I'm weak." It was priceless material right there. Brian constantly wants to prove that he can take his dad's mantle, Blue Falcon, and wants to prove himself, and so he tries to fight off this big, they called it like a Cerberus, I don't know, the 3-headed dog. I find it nuts that either Shaggy or Scooby must sacrifice their life here to save the world. They both try to protect each other, but Shaggy goes to the underworld and the team is crushed. Shaggy tells Scooby, "When we were kids, you saved me. Now it's my turn." For a moment, I forgot this was a kids movie and wondered, how can this be? Shaggy then comes back to Earth safely because Alexander the Great somehow has a back door out of hell, or whatever this is. Overall, it was a fine 3 out of 5 movie. I wonder if this is a one and done, or if they plan on making more of these, because in the end, Fred gets a sleek new mystery machine, and the team get called to a new mystery, making it feel like a sequel is possible. But if they make more, yeah, let's be real. If they make more, I'll definitely check them out, because this thing was constantly fun. Like, it was nothing spectacular, but it was just, yeah, it was a nice nod to what was, but also stood on its own in many ways. So yeah, it was a fine 3 out of 5. I recommend watching Scoob if you haven't. And thank you for tuning in. Come back all week.